If you've been asking yourself, how do I leave my 9 to 5 to actually pursue my dream business or pursue that career that will actually make my lifestyle more meaningful, this episode is for you. Today's guest is someone who left his 6-figure job to go build an app in a space that he believes will totally change the stock market. And I am super pumped to actually have this conversation with him because he shares step by step how he made this decision, why he did it, and when he realized that it was actually time to do it. These are all things you really need to understand if you have to pursue that dream. So this is me saying welcome to the Founder's Diary, and I'm looking forward to see your comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you inside. Let's jump in. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I am super happy to have you, and I'm so excited, looking forward to all the conversation we're going to be having today, because as I was preparing for the interview, I was thinking up through your experience and what you're building. I couldn't wait. And I'm so happy you could make it, even though you're on a long trip. I appreciate that. I appreciate you showing. But before we jump into the show, I want the audience to get to meet you. So just briefly tell us who you are and what the person watching at home is going to take home at the end of this conversation today.
For sure. Again, thank you so much, Emmanuel. I really appreciate it. It's not many times that I show up on a podcast. I've been one of those people who build in silence. And even my career is a very introverted career. You don't really need to be around so many people to do that.
Yeah.
About me, again, my name is Stephenson Mande. I'm originally from Uganda, Kampala. I moved to Toronto late 2020. So I should be making about 6 years after this year, about maybe 5 years after this year. And even right as soon as I got into Toronto, I came in for university. I went to Seneca. I did finance and accounting. Right after I finished that, I went ahead and actually did all my certifications to become a licensed stock trader here in Toronto. That's the CSC, the CPH, the DFOL for derivatives, futures, option contracts, a little bit more complex financial products. So the reason I actually went into this was because I originally was trading already. I was trading right out of high school. I started trading my own money, $100, $150, trading Forex, on these different apps and brokers. Usually most of them were licensed in Cyprus. So I began learning the compliance requirements for that type of industry. And the first time I went ahead and came to Canada, I knew exactly what I actually wanted to get into, especially as a career. So even finishing college, I knew I wanted to be a trader. And right after that, I got a job at Questrade, where I actually worked in sales for, I think, 2 years. Then right after 2 years, the last year, I eventually got the job that I really wanted. I became a licensed trader with CIRO, the Canadian Investment Regulatory Authority organization. And that's where everything changed. I got so much exposure to the actual institutional side of things on a retail desk, answering client questions, looking for liquidity in the markets, doing a little bit more complex things. And that really elevated my knowledge in this game, even way beyond the books, the studies, the licenses. So that is my story. That's my background. I love trading. I'm a trader. I currently trade my own capital and manage a family portfolio as well. And I'm also building OptionBuddy, which is a financial data analytics tool for options traders in the stock market, US and Canada.
Beautiful. You have an amazing story right there. And I'm super interested about that because when I was doing my research, I realized you mentioned you are a licensed trader. And you were doing well. You mentioned you got what most people would consider their dream job, and it kind of fit your lifestyle with the stability that comes with it. Then you decided to build OptionBuddy. What is that? What is OptionBuddy? Can we get to understand what that is?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a very good question. So with OptionBuddy, to make it simple, we're a risk management dashboard for stock market investors. Specifically stock market investors who invest in option contracts. Options are these complicated agreements on stocks. That would be the easiest way I can explain it. But the issue with option contracts is they come with a lot of fine print. It's not as easy as buying the stock that you like, maybe Apple. You like Apple stock. You have an iPhone, you have a MacBook. Perfect. Let me go ahead and buy some Apple stock. Once you buy a share in the stock market, you become an owner of the company, at least a per-share owner. And if the stock goes up, you make money. If it goes down, you lose money. But you never really lose money until you actually sell the stock and realize that loss. So with option contracts, it's quite different. There is a lot of different nuances and specific types of information that you actually need to know how the option is priced, how it goes up, how it goes down, what affects the price. And yet these contracts are so popular that what we're seeing in the market today is, because option contracts are derivatives of stocks, Apple's option contracts are having as equal volume in being traded in the stock market to the actual stock in the stock market. So we're seeing a lot of interest in the actual stock and in the option contracts. But what we're seeing is that there is a lot of tools, a lot of software, a lot of assistance for people investing in the actual stock, but there is less assistance for anybody investing in option contracts, however popular they've become. So that exactly right there is the gap that OptionBuddy is trying to fill.
Wow. That's quite interesting, because I know I have, I would say, an intermediate knowledge of trading from the Forex part of things. A few years ago, I kind of was into that a bit. Then, as a matter of fact, I actually started my first business in that industry, but it was way into the typical day trading Forex market. That story didn't end well, but we're not going to do that today. But yeah, so I'm really interested to let's dive deep a bit into exactly how will OptionBuddy serve their target market. What is that one core feature from OptionBuddy that would definitely change the trading game for any user or any person interested in trading?
That's again a very good question. And just coming to mind, it would actually be the way the system has been put together. Now, just like we were talking about before, this is we've just finished the UI UX designs.
Yeah.
And our core features right now are the simulator, which does that heavy math for you to know what happens when volatility changes, what will happen to the options price. Because again, options don't move like stocks. When Apple goes up $1, it has gone up $1. But when Apple goes up $1, the option contracts don't actually go up $1. They go up based off of a factor called delta. Delta and theta. Delta, theta, and gamma all play a part in pricing the option contract. So those Greeks can be quite confusing. Very, 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 very hectic in regards to being math heavy. And many broker platforms and all the many tools out here today have a wall of numbers. They're providing you all these numbers so you can get a sheet of paper and start calculating everything with your hands down. But what OptionBuddy is doing for you is that just with a click of a button, you see exactly what price that option contract will be based off of different situations in the market. So basically simulating and scenario testing. That is one amazing feature. Personally, as an options trader, I'm waiting to actually release so I can start using. So besides that, exactly.
Wow.
And besides that, we also have Bud. Bud is the AI, I would call it maybe the chatbot, but it's not really a chatbot because we're implementing a complex system around the LLM.
Okay.
With contextualized data. And this system, depending on what you think about the market, what you want to know about option contracts, rather than going ahead and doing research in ChatGPT that's not made for option traders because it's not linked to the stock prices, to the actual prices in the option contract market, we actually have to connect to SIBO, which is the stock exchange for option contracts. So we have all that data in play. So once you go ahead and prompt into Bud, the AI, because OptionBuddy, so our AI is Bud.
Yeah.
So once you prompt into Bud, what happens is that it can give you any answer based off of the context of your actual portfolio. Again, we're not financial advisors. We're looking at what you currently have. I can give an example, maybe you're trading USD JPY in the Forex market, Euro USD, and you don't even know what's going to go against you, what the market's doing. You can go ahead, take a screenshot of that, ask us a question, ask Bud a question, and Bud will explain exactly what's going on, what's affecting the market prices, and how this affects your portfolio, basically personalizing the entire retail investing experience. So that is another feature.
Honestly, I would say, as an AI guy right now, I am intrigued with this particular feature. I think this will be my favorite feature because I am so hooked when it comes to how do we get things done using. I am so intrigued in finding how do we get things done easier using AI because I've come to realize working with a couple of brands this year, I've realized a lot of brands that are still having a little bit of resistance in trying to bring in AI into their workflow or system. I see a lot of difference in terms of the downhill slope they're walking into. And I think every industry should find that common workflow that AI needs to work around with. And so I agree with what Buddy is doing there because as a trader, I'm just like, okay, there are certain jargons I don't want to really deal with and I don't understand it. And having that guy be there for me to kind of interact with and understand what's going on, I totally love it because it can really help a beginner to kind of understand what's going on in the market. I love that feature.
Exactly.
I love that feature. So let's talk about when you decided to go into this. Like you said you had a job, which was good. Did you quit your job and decide to start building OptionBuddy, or are you building and still in your 9 to 5? How are you working around that?
Yes. So I actually did leave my job, and OptionBuddy actually came through a bit of frustration. You see, being a trader is, especially a trader for an institution, is not the same experience as trading your own money. Just connecting your credit card to that broker account, making a deposit, then you just start buying and selling. It's not the same experience. There is a lot of compliance required. There is a lot of client complaints. For example, on an average, I was trading about three to $5 million on a daily basis for our clients. Any mistake would cost me at least $300,000. That's even money I don't have in my account.
That is
So
very risky.
exactly. And I think we'll even get into the part of stress management and how it has to be on point in this specific type of career. Now, what happened with OptionBuddy is because I always wanted to build. Coming into Canada, looking at the buildings, looking at the city, the lights, I was like, I need to build here. Leaving Kampala, I was already a business person. I was already trading Forex. I was trading gold, XAU USD online, and I was doing quite well. And what happened is I also had a few businesses that I was running in Kampala that were also doing quite well. So I had to sell all that, move to a new country, and figure out exactly what I want to do. I was never the best in school. I used to just really understand things like a street smart way where I can pick up a book, read through that book, and actually implement every single page. So that was my talent. And with OptionBuddy and with my job, there was a conflict of interest because of the compliance requirement. Once I'm licensed to that company and I can only deal with their clients. So because of that compliance requirement, I had to step away from the job. But even before I stepped away, I had already fully validated OptionBuddy. I had the concept in my head and dealing with clients every single day, having so many complaints, losing a lot of money because of these specific issues like what Buddy is trying to solve.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, why is this not being built? I'm speaking to hundreds of people every single day, investing hundreds of thousands of Canadian and US dollars, trading on the US and Canadian stock market. And there was just no tool to actually help these people. So I went ahead, did some research, created a website, a landing page using Lovable. And just the right time that Lovable actually comes in, becomes popular. There's no code, low code tools. I take advantage. I pay the $50 for the subscription. I think I had about 200 credits. And what happens is I whip up a nice landing page, set up my message, put it out there, start marketing here and there. I go to Reddit communities, ask people what they're looking for, or if they can look at this website, join the waitlist. And just like that, I got 200 people on the waitlist. I had never done that before. And
Lovely.
I also set up a link. And another person, one of the people who signed up actually gave me a snippet of some wisdom. He told me building a startup is all good and well, and validating it's all nice to have a wait list, but until they actually show a real commitment with cash to actually pay for your tool, then do not take that as full validation. Now, this might be some advice to fellow founders.
Very important.
And so what I did, he asked me to set up a payment for 99 cents. But what I did instead is I was like, OptionBuddy and Bud are too good for people to commit with just 99 cents. So I made it $9.99 USD. And we actually had about 35 people paying. So seeing those payments coming via Stripe on my email, I was like, okay, I think this is validation. I think this is validation. And I just had to now start building. That's the story.
Wow, wow. Just for someone who actually missed the point you just brought in there, you wanted to validate your idea, because that was the next question I was supposed to ask you. I was really thinking about it, how you actually realized that this was an idea that was worth pursuing in the first place. So, and you just pointed it out. So for the person, the founder listening, you took your idea, utilized low code or no code tools like Lovable. Lovable is actually one of my finest and designer right now. One of the first low code and no code tools I used was Lovable. So I really think they are cool, even though now I'm a bit stuck with Replit because of their Agent 3. But you went ahead to use Lovable, whip out a nice landing page about the concept you have in mind. You haven't built anything, right? And you went ahead and started talking about it, got about 200 persons to kind of show verbal interest that, okay, they love what you're trying to say. And with wisdom from one of your interests, you went ahead to add a payment wall to that. And about 30 people came in paying $9.99, right? And that is beautiful right there, because this is what most founders really miss when they go into building startup. And sometimes it's because we have this idea and we love the idea so much that we kind of feel there is no way this idea is not wanted in the market. But the reality sometimes is you go into the market and the market tells you something way different from what you had in mind. So I totally appreciated you sharing that. I appreciate you sharing that with the community. It's very important to validate your idea, follow the right structure when you're trying to do that. And do not just say because everyone is hailing you about an idea that is good, let them pay for it to prove that. I totally love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now you went ahead, get people on board, and they showed interest. So what did you do after that?
That's that's a good question. Now that's when the actual pain began. That is actually when the pain began, the sleepless nights. I mean, seeing that money come in actually created some sort of commitment that now I actually do have to make this product. And what happened is I went ahead and reached out to one of my colleagues. He's currently at Seneca studying electrical engineering. This is one of the best developers I know. One of my longtime friends way back from primary school. That's, I think, middle school. That's called middle school in Canada. And I told him, I need to build this thing. Look at the validation. I showed him all the reasons why I'm so emphatic when actually building this from the ground up. Looking at the tech stack that was required, he immediately told me, Steph, this is very technically challenging. This is very difficult. And what I told him, I was like, I know this is tough, but I have to build this. This is real validation. These are real people on our wait list. And what he did is he agreed to go ahead and actually build the foundation. We built the first SaaS infrastructure, which was the monolithic build. Maybe that might be too complex for for listeners, but that's basically, yes. So that's basically when you go ahead and you sign up to a company, to something online, then you receive a confirmation email. And when you tap on the email, you can maybe go to your account. Maybe you can set up a new password. So that email communication, even the SMSing, we built that whole infrastructure for the SaaS platform. And then we also had templates, image hosting. We set up the back end with the render, although we did go ahead and also switch recently to AWS. Okay. So we set that entire cloud infrastructure. It was about 2 weeks. He told me this could not be, this is something that takes about 2 months. I told him I need this in 2 weeks. And again, this guy is good. So he built me something so fast. We have a dashboard where we see all the waitlist signups, the analytics. We added Google Analytics, extra analytics as well, just to see the traffic on the website, things like that. So that's already fully set up. And we, of course, are now in the development stage where we're doing the UI UX, done with that. And now we're building the back end actual features, the calculation engine, and also what actually runs Bud. Now that's the next sprint.
Yeah, when you mentioned that he said this was going to be a huge task, I was almost coming to that because, what you're building have to do with a lot of data. You need to have a lot of data, run through a lot of data, historical data, and get certain things right. Else, you're going to be risking making people lose a lot of money. So there is a lot of risk involved. So the technicality involved in that, yeah, you explained it, because I was almost saying, how are you really handling that? Because to me, that's the scary part of what the idea, when I was thinking about your idea, it's like, wow, how is it going to handle the data, the security, the back end, and stuff like that? But that's brilliant. I recently also noticed that you are part of the YSpace venture, right? So, and that is
Correct.
an accelerator program. So, what motivated you to go into that, to try to join an accelerator?
That's a very good question. And, I'll just bundle it all together. So
Okay.
getting into the YSpace Venture Catalyst Fund, the Venture Catalyst Program, that actually happened through me learning about the ecosystem in software. Now, even prior to OptionBuddy, me and a few colleagues decided to set up and come together and build a fitness CRM, a CRM for fitness trainers to help them manage their clients, keep up with their clients. Basically, it would be a web app for the fitness trainers and an app and a phone app, iOS and Play Store for the for the client. And what happened is me and a few of the founders, there was maybe a founder fit. And so I had to step away from the company, but they actually are still building and they should be launching sometime soon. So even prior to OptionBuddy, that experience that I had being a part of Uplift, which was the company's name, it put me so much in touch with different venture programs. We're applying to Antler. We're applying to Google for startups. We were applying for government grants. We were looking into IP and IP assignments, and there's different types of IP requirements, patents. And what happened is I was already kind of knowledgeable about this ecosystem now.
Yeah.
So building OptionBuddy, I knew I needed some assistance. So I went online, started looking through programs that could actually accept something as early stage as OptionBuddy. And so I landed on YSpace, which was in collaboration with BEA. And again, being a black founder is like, oh, this could be easy
Yeah.
because I'm black. So I applied. And luckily, I got an interview. Had the interview with Nunu. She was amazing, very helpful. It took about 2-3 weeks, and they actually let me know that I had actually got in. And I actually recall prior to that, about maybe 3 months before that specific time, I actually did apply to BEA, one of their programs, but one of their more advanced programs,
Okay.
and I was rejected. So I already knew about BEA, but this time around they had something in conjunction with the YSpace. And so when I applied for it, it was pretty amazing. And again, the program provided me a structured path into knowing exactly how to run a business, not just build a tool or a software, because that's something I've figured out through reading multitude of books, multitude of YouTube videos, AI. I think I pay for Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, and all those are just hitting my account, but they're being so useful every single day in just helping me learn at a faster pace. And that's something that I feel like founders have to take advantage of because it's a completely different world. Looking back when I started some businesses, I remember I started a basketball events company. I just think about a time when I think about right now, if somebody can just easily go ahead and prompt into ChatGPT or Claude and ask, how do I start a basketball company or a basketball events company? And it will give you a laid out PDF.
I completely agree.
That was not possible way back in 2016.
Yeah, you mentioned a very valid point. The importance of also using AI in this time and age to help with the building phase, because a lot of persons are still stuck in that loop of, I am not technical enough. I don't know how to go about this. I don't know where I should start. But you mentioned it. If you are willing and ready enough, you have so much tools at your disposal to kind of get started. But shout out to BEA actually for really being supportive to the black founders, and I totally love it. Me and you, we kind of I've gone through that program, and I was happy to have someone from BEA kind of jump on the show. It's been helpful. Now, I want to move into something a bit different. Yeah. For you right now, what's the hardest part of actually building OptionBuddy? Like, given everything you've gone through so far in the process and the experience of even trying to start something else with someone else that didn't work out, what would you say is the most difficult part of doing this right now?
Yeah, again, that's a lovely question because it's all hard. It's all definitely very hard. And I think I was telling a colleague one time that I don't encourage anyone to get into business. I think I don't encourage anyone to get into building a startup, trying to create something that is so uniquely challenging and that could potentially put you out of touch with actual reality. Because it is such a big goal. It requires so much consistency, so much grit, something that at some point I question could be inborn. Sometimes maybe I say, I'm lucky my mom is a business owner.
Okay.
I'm lucky my dad was an auditor. You know, he was looking at numbers all day and he actually managed that in some specific type of way. But coming back to the question, the main thing that is difficult right now is the system design. I've literally had to set up meetings with, and again, BEA was very helpful with this and YSpace. They put us in contact with mentors. The mentorship in one word was enlightening because I was speaking to Tanika McLeod. She's the CEO of OneClick. She just recently exited her company. And again, yes, correct. It's an analytics company for sentiment analysis on social media.
Okay.
And she knows exactly how to build an agentic AI. So the issue with us right now was the system design. Like, how exactly is Bud going to be able to take data, then connect that data to the stock market's data, then connect it to the actual context and the brain of what trader, again, the specifics of the trader, because remember, we are looking to personalize the entire experience, then actually spew out a compliance friendly, because we're looking to go ahead and eventually sell to brokers to integrate with highly compliance and regulated, a highly compliance and regulated industry. So we're looking to integrate with those brokers eventually. So we have to build with compliance in mind. And we're saying, how is OptionBuddy actually going to do all this? Like, how are we going to do all this stuff? That question alone is the most difficult part, at least right now. And we're figuring it out as we go. I can't say we figured it out because it's not the best path that we've taken. Those other paths we considered. And now once we launch this path that we've taken and we see maybe the effects of this path, then we can say, okay, this path was not the best. We can maybe rebuild this way. But for now, we just have to keep going. At least we figured out something. Tanika was very helpful. She put me in contact with the CTO. We sat down, talked system design, so exactly how we actually can go about the whole agentic process using the LLMs, the data ingestion, and all that stuff. So that is definitely something I really appreciate YSpace for. And beyond that, the other difficult part would be also finance. We, of course, are in the process where we actually are raising some capital. We have some interested investors, but we need that money to come in so fast because some of our developers, again, I never consider myself a non-technical founder because I love software. I love to read about it. I know the entire CI/CD pipeline. That's like the entire flow of the actual system. But again, I don't actually code. I'm just a trader. I know the markets. I know the data. I know the information in regards to the software tech stack. So we need developers who actually code, and they cost money. Some of them, to be on board, they need a paycheck. And that is something that is quite difficult. It's a true reality right now, that we do need to pay some developers to come on board, at least one to complement our current CTO so that we can launch into market in about 2 months.
That's interesting. That's quite interesting because I was just about to go into the funding because that is one big elephant that has always been in the room when it comes to founders and building startup. The idea is all good until it comes to that question, how do we fund this? How do we move it forward? I'm happy you actually touched on that. What I would like us to talk about a bit more now is, do you have competition?
Yes, we definitely do have competition. The competition is the legacy brokers. This data is already provided to people, and some of them, of course, are in situations where some traders or some people some clients in our segment are actually They already know how to interpret this data. So why do they need Bud? So what we see here is maybe they possibly are not our target market. Again, with these competitors, it's quite tricky because I don't want to go ahead and say that OptionBuddy is the only one doing this. Many of them are doing it, just that they're not doing it the way OptionBuddy is doing it. They're not offering plain language insights, plain language explanations. The way you were excited about Bud being able to just tell you what's going on in your portfolio, like what am I looking at? That is not something that is being offered anywhere in the market. Now, IBK are interactive brokers. This is an international broker. They give you access to the stock market, US, Canada, and international. It's in Canada, it's in the US. Now, these guys love software. Their entire business is about building software that traders can use to make their entire investing experience simpler, easier, more accessible. Now, they built something similar, but the UI is still so complex. It's still so complex, and they have that initial complexity in their entire system that is just something difficult for people to actually get accustomed to. And maybe that's where OptionBuddy has an edge to what IBKR has built. But right now, I would say OptionBuddy is the only company, in fact, the only startup right now that's building something in that line of plain language insights, breaking down those numbers, personalizing that entire experience, and having a buddy right next to you as you're trading. The entire roadmap is just insane with making the entire investment experience so personalized. You don't need to pick up a phone to call your broker and be in a queue for about maybe 60 minutes if you'd be lucky to get a call back. Because I was in that situation. I was helping clients every day. Some, we have to give them callbacks, but we've just helped 20 clients before them. We're all tired. We're a team of 14 people. 3 get sick. And now we have a backlog of like 100 clients to actually help get access to the market. And it's a very cumbersome process. And OptionBuddy is trying to alleviate such pain points for the broker, also for the client, and also save both parties money in the long run. So that's what I would say.
That's beautiful. I appreciate the way you've taken time to articulate what your competitors are actually doing and what are the edges in the market that you can actually compete against. Because most people are scared of doing what other people are already doing because they feel the market is already saturated. But there's this thing I always say, when I hear you say you can't compete in the market, I'm hearing you say, I do not have the personality to build my own moat in the market. And sometimes it just needs that tiny, innovative
That's a good one.
To kind of find a part in that market to build a moat around and position yourself. Use that one feature, shout on it as loud as possible. I totally love how well you've done that. That's amazing. So where do you think your highest market is? Like,
yeah, that's a good question.
Your audience.
Yes. So our audience, and at least people who've shown interest, are definitely retail investors, people who trade their own money, and they specifically trade option contracts as well as stocks for different reasons. Now, the reasons why they trade option contracts, that is maybe where we're still dissecting exactly who these clients are. Now, we're noticing there was some interest with this category called option sellers. Option sellers are these investors who sell option contracts to receive a premium, to get paid immediately. It's a strategy in options trading that's quite popular. It has a higher rate, a higher win rate, a higher success rate. I recall you mentioned how in Forex, you lost a lot of money. Again, some of these instruments are insanely volatile. It's very easy to lose money like this. It's also as easy to make money. But with option contract selling, it's a little bit safer, more risk defined, that you can maybe only lose $300 and possibly make $200. So there's a good risk reward ratio there. And again, these are all numbers that OptionBuddy is trying to just demystify. Well, we show you what has that good risk reward ratio, what the percentage of profit would be, what exactly your win rate will look like. If your win rate changes, we alert you on your phone, SMS, email. Again, personalizing the entire experience. And these customers, we see a lot of interest in this specific segment. But again, the largest segment is options traders in the stock market, like all across the board. we haven't received much interest from the institutional traders, people who maybe trade more advanced for larger clients, for banks, because those people already have their own tools. And the funny thing here is they actually already have their own tools that are similar to OptionBuddy, but they're internal tools that guide them and have a structured risk management system that they haven't released or published out to the actual investor, just like you and me, who wants to participate in the market. So they're holding and hoarding the secret. And again, this goes into kind of our market analysis and what we figured out with this market. And even just working in an institution, I always ask myself, why do we know this? I even asked some of my fellow traders back in the day. Maybe they didn't notice that I was doing some market research back then, but I just asked them honestly, why do we have all this access to these systems, to these tools? But these traders are just trading blind, but they're trading in over hundreds of thousands. Like, what gives them the confidence to think they can actually succeed without access like the way we do here? Now, OptionBuddy is bridging that gap.
Okay, I see. I see that. Now, let's say you want to go 1 year back before you started OptionBuddy. Is there anything you think you would have done differently if you should go back now all over again and kind of start from scratch?
Yeah. So looking at that question is tough because I've always been somebody who is very, very disciplined. In fact, I would say militant discipline. You know, I actually watched one of your reels when you were talking about the consistency, the discipline needed to like be in fitness, like in the gym. You know, you were actually in the gym. I think it was Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
And you just had a small snippet. You were like, you have to stay consistent. You have to stay locked in if you want to gain muscles. You can't do it, something different and expect to gain muscles. Like you can't eat all day expecting muscles, and somebody can't go to the gym all day and expect to maybe get fat.
Absolutely.
It can't be the other way around. Your direct effort leads to the direct result. And I've always been somebody who puts in a lot of effort into the things I want to attain. I always knew I wanted to be a business person. The only thing maybe I wish I had if I went back a year would be I think that would actually be possibly to become maybe I don't know, to become a Canadian or to become a US citizen, because I feel like that is the only thing that is maybe that kind of maybe puts me off of being in the best competitive space that I can be in. I've always been so competitive. But you see, as immigrants, sometimes we're hindered by the fact that we always have this thing that we're chasing. We're chasing PR. We're chasing some sort of application, to become maybe you're living in Ontario. Now you have to go to Alberta because Alberta might give you a PNP. And now you maybe have to become a refugee. Now maybe you have to go to the States because you've heard somebody's doing well in the States. You have to be in Boston now. I mean, and it's like your society, your community, the people around you are just in that headspace. So if maybe I was Canadian, I would be in a headspace where everybody around me doesn't have that stress. And so I'm in a situation where I'm properly set up, possibly end up in Stanford like Sam Altman, and, building in a space where Y Combinator is just a few blocks away. So that is possibly something that I wish maybe I would change. Looking a year back, even possibly even now, but I feel like however hard you can go, you keep praying. Again, maybe something else is maybe I would pray a little bit more. It's just recently when I started praying more. I'm a Christian, so I have to go to church. I have to pray every day. Back then, I wasn't going to church as much because of the pandemic and the effects. We're not going to church, so I already got used to not going to church. But with these types of struggles, especially these physical struggles like building a startup, going to the gym, staying consistent, relationships, money troubles, it's always best to have some sort of, spirituality that just grounds you so well that even in situations where you feel like you're overwhelmed, things are not going well, you can possibly just keep pushing forward and you can just find that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I think with more of God and Jesus in my life a year ago, I would certainly be in a better place.
Wow, I really love that. I really love that. In fact, that's so fundamental because a lot of us go into building or starting something thinking that it's all about us. And I was watching a reel some days ago, and
This guy was saying, if you are a founder and you absolutely don't have something you believe in, something you pray to, you are playing the wrong game because you need something to believe in. You need something beyond you, kind of. And that's for the person who might say, I do not worship God, I do not believe in God. Maybe you have something else you believe in, but make sure that thing is so, so close to you, because there'll be days you just wake up and you just feel like, what is going on with my life? Like, what am I doing? Right? So I completely appreciate you being so transparent on that front and really helping the person who is really watching at home to see you from like 1 year ago. What are your learning points and things you feel you would have done differently? And I agree with the aspect of, if you were a Canadian or a US citizen, there's this level of advantage you would have had and this certain stress that you might not go through, which I completely agree, because I'm experiencing it right now as we speak in building. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I started a cleaning company here some months back. And in the midst of trying to run the business, building it, getting clients, I'm still thinking in my head, I think I need to move to Alberta because of my PR route. But what do I now do in my business? Like, there is that constant stress when you are not a citizen. And I must agree, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But I know you've touched a lot of it. Before we kind of jump into the rounding up of this conversation, I just wanted to ask, for the person watching at home right now that is maybe in their first month of building, they are confused, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go from here, and they're in that place where they are beginning to doubt themselves. What do you have to tell that person that will kind of either help the person know how to move forward or continue in the path that will best lead to the outcome they're looking for?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the first thing that comes to mind is their why. Like, why are you doing this? Why do you want to start this cleaning company, man? Just go get a 9 to 5. You get benefits. I mean, my 9 to 5 even gave me 4 massage days in a year, a full body massage, chiropractic help about 95%, dental 95%. My salary was, over 100,000 with a bonus. So what exactly are you looking for if you can make, about, a tenth of $1 million? If we to make it, sound fancier, a tenth of $1 million, and so you're finding yourself in a situation where you just don't know why you're doing something. That is the breaking point. You're waking up, you're saying, should I post this content? Like, why? Nobody's even, giving me any views. There is no engagement. There was no likes. There was no comments. There was no retweets. Why am I posting all this content about my silly idea that doesn't even make any sense? Is it because I just want to make some money? I'm tired of maybe being an Uber driver. I'm tired of maybe, just going to work and a normal shift. That's even a job that I didn't study for, something I'm not interested in. And once you have that why, you're in a situation where you can now say, I have to do this. It's this or I die. It's this or I die. Like, literally. At least many founders have been honest to a certain point. But, again, just like, you initially briefed me, I want to be as transparent as I possibly can about the reality of building something that is especially bigger than yourself. Because thinking personally about OptionBuddy is a business. On our financial projections, we already see that if everything goes well, we expect about $6 million in revenue next year. That is not money I've ever made in my life. Why would I think this is going to be easy? Again, remember, I did not go to Stanford, and Y Combinator is not a few blocks away. So I'm building in Toronto as a Black founder, a Black immigrant founder, using my own capital, raising money from external investors, using my own wit, my own knowledge, my own community, my own friends, my own connections, my own colleagues. How sure are you that entire setup is actually going to yield $6 million for the financial year 2026? There is no certainty. And some of the best advice that I actually got was, whatever you do, there is no guarantees, even if it's the right thing to do. Even companies that have gone to Y Combinator and have received funding, Series A, pre-seed, Series B, some of them have failed. Look at WeWork. The guy's a billionaire. He's on the cover of Forbes one day and the next day he's out. You look at, the founder of FTX. He's on the cover of Forbes as one of the youngest millionaires, now billionaires, and now he's in jail. So it's that there is never any guarantees, and you just have to find the why. Once you figure out the why, now the next step is actually being consistent. And now consistency again goes back to the why. But beyond even the entire why, it's, you really have to sit down and, now this might be very specific to somebody who's in my situation, an immigrant to Canada or to the US, North America. You're building something. You know that this is not something you've been exposed to coming from back home, because back home, even our internet connections are so bad. Building a startup would be so cumbersome. It's not the same experience as in Canada. I mean, Canada, I just sleep off watching YouTube videos. I don't care how much MBs or GBs it's taking. So that perspective might be very specific. Now, this person needs to be able to understand that they're blessed to be in a position that they have access to resources like Wi-Fi, like access to a job, access to the possibility of making some dollars so you can invest in something that can be bigger than yourself. Knowing and just seeing your surrounding, knowing that you're working for another man who is a billionaire. Like, I was walking into that office every day at Questrade, and, sometimes you meet Edward, and Edward is besides me, and I see him with his C-suite as they're talking about this and that. And I'm like, wow, that guy right there is $1 billion. Is $1 billion. Like, I don't know any billionaires from back home. But knowing that you're in a society that accepts that type of wealth, that type of growth, financially, emotionally, and also physically, is that already in itself is hope. Like, you just know that if ever you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you feel like it doesn't work out, it can't work out like this. I just can't make it, or what I have, what I'm doing is not worth it. I just want you to maybe go out. You go downtown, you walk around, then maybe you call your friend in Kampala or in Lagos, and he shows you what's happening back home, and you'd be like, wow. And you look at the contrast. In Toronto, everyone's driving a 2025 car. At least 5 cars out of 6 are 2025s. And back home, maybe could be 2006 vehicles. The contrast is very different. The systems, the infrastructure, it's different. It's showing you that systems actually work. And just like I was saying, with the incubator, they give you a structured path of learning. They even put you into contact with a mentor who has sold the company for millions of dollars in an exit. I mean, that's where you want to be. And you're talking to somebody who's where you want to be. Where are you going to get that? Yeah. Exactly. So maybe also another piece of advice would be joining a community, applying to an incubator. Some businesses might not be incubator, maybe backable, where maybe they're too physical. Some incubators are mostly software. But again, there is always a community. There is apps like Meetup. There was apps in those Discord. Join those meetups, join those communities. You find people who are like-minded, people building similar things, people without the constraints that you currently have. So they see things from a different perspective. And this is what these traders have taught me, these traders on Reddit, on Discord groups. They show me different strategies, different ways that they think about the stock market. And I'm like, wow. So using my institutional brain, I'm thinking differently. I'm thinking like them. And so I'm building something that is tailored for them rather than building something that is maybe tailored for me as somebody who has a lot of knowledge about options. And now I just need some assistance. I need an option buddy. So I need to think about them while I build. So that is also some advice that I would have for the early stage startup founder who's going through those tough times.
I totally love that. The part that is taking with me so much right now is your why. Know your why. Because personally, I have been in a place where I think that is so fundamentally true. Because if you're building, especially for solo founders, you're building alone, you will need more than common energy to wake up every morning and go back to sit on that desk, working on that thing you absolutely do not have 80% certainty is going to work. Sometimes you have 50%, like you mentioned. You're just playing this wild game, and this, what I would call Russian roulette or something, you might get killed in the process, just like about this guy in jail. So it is so fundamental that we know our why. I really love that. And thank you so much for being so transparent on the show. It was lovely having you, Steve. I totally love it. I totally love it. I appreciate. But before I jump out of this conversation, there is this question I make it a tradition to ask every founder that comes to the show. Now, OptionBuddy is gonna be launched soon. Let's say in 2030, where do you see OptionBuddy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And again, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate these talks. I want to be out there a little bit more, share some knowledge that I have as I keep building OptionBuddy. And looking at 2030, to be honest, I'm somebody who has a lot of interests. I love to build. I love the complexity of the entire space. But I've come to the realization that I love technology. I use AI every day. Before that, I was using lots of software trading and being a trader. Even before that, I was still using lots of software, just trying to implement systems into the things I do. So I see OptionBuddy possibly growing to $1 billion company. And that is just a reality that I see. Now, I'm not sure if that will be with me as a CEO, with me still as the founder, currently working day to day, building OptionBuddy, or with OptionBuddy actually under another institution through an exit. All those possibilities are on the table because I still see myself in the tech ecosystem, possibly building something else, expanding on OptionBuddy possibly becoming a broker. I even have the idea that we want to go ahead and expand to different financial instruments, or for Forex, futures, African securities, international securities, international options. So like the Indian market is now very crazy. It needs this much assistance. And we're seeing so many people on the wait list being Indian, and many of them are participating in the Indian stock market. And so that is something that I see OptionBuddy doing. I see being a company that, because the way we're thinking about everything right now is how do we reduce our cost of running this business, our margins to close to 0%. We want our margins to be as low as 10%, our operating margins. And that is something that we're trying to implement from the get-go. As an accountant, I hate spending money. But I love making money. So I want an imbalance on my income statement. I need that income to be higher than the expense, especially when it comes to the business. And again, some of the competitors, especially Interactive Brokers, is doing it. It's $1 billion company in the S&P 500 operating at about a 21% operating margin. Again, the software gives you that leverage. That's why there's a huge ecosystem. That's why OpenAI wants to go public at $1 trillion. Because these companies are cash flowing machines that can be built in a very lean manner, very lean way, but they offer the scalability to reach billions of people and touch billions of people's workflows, people's finances, and people's just state of work. That is definitely something I see for OptionBuddy.
That is beautiful. And I really, really look forward to seeing OptionBuddy becoming one of these big platforms where we can really financially say, okay, I have a place that is safe. I can learn trading. I can actually have the necessary assistance to guide me in this process, because personally, I need your tool. That's the point. Because I'm in that place in my life where I'm beginning to think, how do I start investing long term? Now I'm not unlike before where I was in the place I needed money. I'm in that place. How do I now invest for my future? How do I now invest for my retirement and stuff like that? So it's very important that I have a tool like OptionBuddy to kind of help me walk through that. And I think you guys are building something amazing. Steve, you are brilliant, because I'm just thinking in my head, like, how did you thought of such a complicated problem to solve, man? But it's lovely. I really love it.
Thank you so much.
I really love it. I look forward to
Thank you so much.
to having the opportunity of seeing how the platform work. And hopefully you might be here very soon again, showing us the workaround on the platform when it's launched, and we kind of see how people use it. Then that would be lovely.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay. So for the person who is watching and is saying, I love this, I want to go into investing, I love the idea that Steve has shared, and I would like to follow him. Where can they get you? Where can they reach you and connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. So they can actually reach us on OptionBuddy.ai. So you just type that in. We've been doing a lot of search engine optimization, so we should show up as the search result, as the first result there.
Beautiful.
OptionBuddy.ai will show up.
All right. If they want to connect with you personally on socials, is that possible?
Correct. Yes, my full name's Stephenson Mande on LinkedIn, and you should be able to connect with me. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
All right. So guys, I'm going to be putting all of that in the description of this video. Kindly go ahead and give him a follow and check out OptionBuddy, because we are in the space where we really need to take investing seriously. With the rise of AI and the way things are going, if you are not really taking it seriously in terms of how do you plan your retirement, how do you plan the future for your kids, it's going to be difficult. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation on this show, to kind of give you the needed knowledge to move on, whether it comes to building businesses, understanding your finances, or even talking about how to invest safely, as what Steve is actually building. Go ahead and give him a follow. He's an amazing young man that I've met, and I really look forward to connecting with you in person when you get back from your vacation. So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Do have a nice one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you too. Take care.